my name is Diana Castro and you're tuned in to Leaders with a Mission, and today we have a very special guest, so let me tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Monica Reyes, a soulful spiritual leader who guides and empowers changemakers towards self-awareness, spiritual awakening, and purpose. She's a TEDx speaker, a certified transpersonal coach, a Kundalini instructor, and an attorney who left her fruitful lab practice to answer her soul's call for more. She has presented for companies such as Gucci, Ricoh, NFLPA, TD Bank, Amazon, just to name a few. And with you, Monica Reyes. Hello, girl.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored. I've been following you for so long, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be invited to be able to do this. I'm so honored.
Thank you. So let's dive in.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about answering the call of your soul for more. You had a fruitful, like a really good, you had it going on as a lawyer, and what happened?
Yeah. So I had a big law firm at some point. I had two business partners. I had a staff of women, 40 women. And along the way, I started meditating. I was a new mom and I started to feel like, okay, this could be stressful. So maybe I should, and I started to research and I found meditation and mindfulness, and I had a spiritual awakening, is what I'm calling it. And realized, just started to have these shifts of awareness, like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling different in my body. I'm starting to feel different with people around me. And I started to transform and work on myself. And then the people around me started to shift. And then I brought it into my law firm and realized, wow, there's something to this. And really feeling like, I don't think this is for me anymore. And so it took me a whole year to really to answer the call. I was like debating, why am I feeling this way, and asking all those questions. And then I was called to just be still and to just listen. And that's what I did. And all the opportunities, everything organized for me. I ended up, I was working with Michelle Villalobos at the time. I was helping her co-produce her Women's Success Summit. And I was doing it as a lawyer. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to launch myself from that stage. And that's exactly what I did. I ended up launching my new program and my new self. I came out as a coach, as a speaker on that stage in 2015 and never looked back.
How was that transition period? Like, this show is about leaders with a mission. And I see you as, at some point, you had what most people would consider. She's made it. She has a law firm. She's successful. And you are in this predicament of like, I think there's more. And how was that moment? How was the moment of making that leap of faith? Because it feels heavy. Like, to me, I could like sense that moment of like, am I going to drop everything I've created and start from zero? Like, tell me a little bit about that process.
Yeah. Well, so I was the breadwinner. My husband was just starting. He had just started his nonprofit, and he, for the first 3 years, he didn't really pay himself. He was like, just like working based on his dream and based on, let me help these children. And so that was a really tough decision, and it was really scary, and it was all based on faith and really following the feeling inside of me. It was really just listening to my body. I couldn't imagine another day doing this job because I felt like I was dying. I felt like a flower that was wilting and a petal would drop, would just die and wilt away every day. And I couldn't. I felt the burning, the urgency of like, no, my soul was like, you have to do this. And I took the leap of faith and I said, why not?
I could hear myself right now, hearing people going, oh my God, I sort of feel like people who are going through this, I'm not fulfilled. There must be more to life. What are the symptoms? Like, can you tap into that again and be like, if you're feeling X, Y, Z, can you talk about what are the symptoms and then what does it take to get to the other side?
Well, the symptoms are you feel like life is so mundane, it's dull. It's hard to find joy. It's hard to find beauty. It feels like you're like a robot. You're in the middle of this machine. Some people call it this hamster wheel, where it's like, oh, gotta make the donuts again. It's the same thing over and over again. You're not feeling excited. You're not like jumping out of your bed to do your job. You're feeling those things affect all the other parts of your life. It's like your life is in black and white. And then, but you're seeing the glimpse of the color. It's like, Dorothy, she's in black and white, and she opens it, into this new fairy tale land, and everything is in color. And that's what it felt like. It felt like I was seeing the glimpses of color. And what it took was courage. What it took was faith. It was blind faith. It was being the keeper of this faith of like, there is this future that nobody else can see. I have seen the vision, but my world has not manifested yet. It's like this future, and you are holding on to that vision for dear life. And you're like, I'm just going to take this step. I'm going to lead myself, even though everyone's like, no, what are you doing? This doesn't make sense. But you do it anyway.
It's not logical. It's not coming from logic. It's coming from like this intangible force.
Yes. Intuition. And you've got to be awake. And that's what the meditation practice really did for me. My spiritual practice has always kept me there, where it's like, I can see what most people can't see, because a lot of times you might be stuck in an unconscious, in the fear and the unconscious program. But when you're centered in that space of being able to see beyond, you see the messages, you see the signs, you can see things from this bird's eye view. I was starting to see like, this is not the path of least resistance that I'm on. Nothing's working out right now. What I'm feeling though is something else is organizing for me. there's something in flow here. So all I have to do is jump into the river of what's already the current that's already moving, and just trust that there's going to be land on the other side.
And okay, so you took the leap of faith, like you went there. What happened after that? So
first of all, I was terrified. So for most of my life, I was considered shy and introverted, a label that I owned. And so the leap of faith was to speak on stage in front of like 250 women entrepreneurs. This is my first speech ever. I remember the night before, I was so scared, and I'd prepared like crazy. I mean, I was launching myself. So I did my website in 3 days. Like I was like, we're going to do this. And my husband, I remember the night before, I was crying, and I was like, I can't. He's like, so then don't. I'm like, what are you, crazy? Michelle's going to make me do this. And I knew I had to. So I ended up just trusting myself and allowing myself to be this instrument. It ended up being one of the most powerful speeches I've ever done. There were tears in the audience. I got a standing ovation, and I ended up selling. I sold my program, and I sold it out. I sold the program out from the stage. I ended up selling this retreat I was doing in the BVIs out. So it worked. It worked. And I had so much fun and joy doing it. And it ended up launching my speaking career, where I ended up really feeling like, wow, I think I'm meant to do this.
What would you tell to someone who's currently in that situation, who understands that there's a force that is calling them forward, and it's just, there's so much energy, like what would you tell someone who's in that place at that moment?
Slow down, make space, take a deep breath, close your eyes and listen. And really listen. And that's really it. And trust yourself. You've got this. And the universe conspires. Like when you feel that desire, if you're feeling that desire, that is evidence that there is something calling you forward. We're like a magnet. What you seek is seeking you. And all you have to do is follow it. You just have to follow it. And one thing that I really learned along the way was like my father's story. So my father, he really inspired my TEDx talk because when he realized he was sick and he was like wasn't going to recover, his words to me were, I thought I was going to have more time. I thought I was going to have more time. And I realized in that moment, which is I feel like must have talked to my past self also, of you only get this one precious life. Are you going to waste it on being unhappy, or are you going to like fully live it? I mean, if you could go, my mentor always brings me here. Are you going, if you can think of your last breath, can you really honestly say that you've lived everything that there is to be lived in this life?
Oh my God, my whole body just actually listened to your TED Talk. And like long short, your parent was not present, your dad was not present, and the universe conspired so that you could forgive him. And the moment that you guys actually got closed, he was in his last moments. And it's a beautiful space to actually, like, it was happening for you, and you got to at least say goodbye and in good terms, because there's a lot of people who maybe are mad at each other and they're not giving themselves space to heal. So it's beautiful how everything kind of like unfolded itself to bring you to this version of you. So I know everything has not been rainbows and unicorns, because, you know, as much as you want to wish that that's the case, it just doesn't work like that. So tell me about what has been the biggest challenge you've had experienced as now a speaker, and like now like shifting from an attorney to a change maker, a coach. What has been the hardest part for you?
Yeah, I would say and there have been lots of different dips. I'm going to tell you the most recent one because I feel like it's related to the original thread of what got me here. I think the hardest part for me was unhooking from the busy. Unhooking from like the mindless busy of like, I've got to be busy. I've got to do things. It's like not being intentional with my time, of the balance of being a mother of two, being a wife, and also wanting to make a change in the world. I was slam packed for so long. I was like, you know, working on creating a, you know, coaching empire. I was doing YouTube videos, like 5 a week. And my son had eczema. He had eczema for 3 years. And I know you know this story. And he was like, it ravaged his body. I wasn't sleeping. I was sleeping like maybe 2 hours a night. This was for 3 years. At one point, it got really almost delusional, where I was wanting to give up. I gave up my dog of 13 years, and he ended up passing away. And it was such a hard time. My husband and I were like, I don't even know how we survived. But it was everybody in the ecosystem got affected. And I absolutely did. I was so busy, and I got the call of like, ding, 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 you've got to start to focus home. So I dropped everything and went inward and went to focus on my family and got that right. And we ended up doing some massive, ancestral, powerful work where we're like the first, our family now, we have a home. Like, we have a beautiful home of love and compassion and safety, and it's so healthy, and oh my God. And now coming back, like to lead again from this powerful foundation is so different. And that was, I feel like, the hardest thing for me was letting go of the grip of like, I'm going to miss out on my, whatever I'm doing. But this was like so loud, but I did it. And now I'm coming back into the world of like, miracles are possible, and look what I've done. And my relationship, I'm like more in love with my husband than I've ever been, like to the point of like dreamy, like the way that you have your crush on your high school crush, like, that's how I see him. I've never felt that way about him. It's just I'm in a much different space. I'm feeling more creative than ever. I'm singing, I'm acting, I'm songwriting, I'm bringing that into my message, I feel like I've reached this new level. And I'm feeling so much more joy about life because of taking that, what I thought was a step back, but it wasn't.
It was a moment of rediscover and self-expression. So on that note, one of the questions that we often do here in Leaders with a Mission is, what books, what tools do you use? What books would you recommend for people to like soak in and like gain that reabsorption of energy that you would want to share with the world?
Books. Okay.
Or books. Leaders or mentors.
Yeah, leaders. Okay. So I've always had a mentor. Right now, the mentor that I actually invest in and have, her name is Dr. Nanilea Diamond. She's my personal spiritual mentor. I read a lot. I've read all of Joe Dispenza's books, Eckhart Tolle. I followed Gabby Bernstein from the beginning. Marianne Williamson's got some amazing things. Course in Miracles is a book that I've actually restarted, which has like been so powerful.
That book keeps calling me. It's like, get in line, get.
That's the way it works. That's the way it works. That's a beautiful book on forgiveness and miracles. It's miracles. So, I've read so much. I've recently started to go back into like the history and like even like the Bible, like biblical. I'm very interested in, always been very interested about the biblical history and symbolism. So I've, Bruce Lipton is another powerful Biology Beyond Belief. There are a lot of really amazing innovators and it's all about the rewiring and, really understanding that you are this ever-changing evolutionary energetic process and this pattern that's ever-changing, and that your frequency, you can affect it all just by standing in your own light. So there's a lot.
So before closing, I just wanted to thank you because you're one of my mentors within the program that we share together. So thank you for being light. Thank you for taking the opportunity of being here with us. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the universe, to listen to what calls you, right? Because that allows you to actually be present. And when you are aware of that and you listen, things kind of like align for you for better. So I want to ask you, where can people find you? If people would like to know more about you, where can they go?
So you can find me on my website, www.monicaereyes.com. You can find me on Instagram, Monica E. Reyes. You can find me on my YouTube channel. I just launched a podcast called Consciously Sourced. You can find me on that. That's where you can find me.
That's beautiful, Monica. Thank you so much for sharing this time with us. And for all of you who are leaders or change makers and would like to, step into visibility and change the world, let's have a conversation. Visit us at forproductions.com, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.